Hi, it's KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guests today are from the Silver Swing Band of Iowa City, Wes Hobley and Jerry Zinn. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So the Silver Swing Band is familiar to anyone who's, I think, been to the Iowa City Jazz Festival because they always put the Silver Swing Band on the youth stage.
I think that's one of the delightful parts of the Jazz Festival, to find ourselves always located on the youth stage.
It's always a highlight for me, and of course, I've talked to many members throughout the years, and your directors. We'll talk about your directors in a little bit too, but you bring your directors generally out of the University of Iowa, and they almost always go on to become, great high school and college band directors or professionals in their own right. But we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. Got a concert coming up that we're going to talk about. But Jerry, why don't you start? You're a retired music teacher and band director yourself. Right. And tell me a little bit about for those who don't know, the history of the Silver Swing Band.
Well, the band itself is a part of the New Horizons Band Organization, which is a national organization which seeks to offer musical performance experiences for players that are over the age of 55. And many of us are well over the age of 55. For some, it's a distant, happy memory. But it's a band of older players, well-seasoned, as West usually calls it. The band includes folks who have played in the past and are now coming back. And in some cases, the New Horizons Band has people who always wanted to play but did not have the chance when they were kids. Originally, the New Horizons program was organized by Steve West of West Music, Dr. Myron Welch, retired director of bands at the University of Iowa, and Dr. Don Kaufman, who was then head of music ed at the University of Iowa. There were Silver Swing members who approached the New Horizons Band Board of Directors and requested that the concert band program be expanded to include a jazz component. The Senior Center in the Iowa City Old Post Office has been our home for many years. Some challenges in the nearby parking ramp have made us move to the Iowa City Rec Center for the concert band. This is on a temporary basis. So the City of Iowa City, the Senior Center, the business community, University of Iowa, all those organizations have played a significant role in establishing and supporting what we're doing. West Music very kindly provides us with rehearsal space each week in their recital facility at the main store in Coralville. Longest tenure member of the band, Nancy Wambacher, is a trumpet player, and she has been there since the beginning in 1998. So she's the only one that I could remember that was there from the very, very beginning. And the newest member, I believe, is probably Gary McCurdy, tuba player.
The Tubador, Gary McCurdy, yeah.
Indeed. So Gary covers the fourth trombone part an octave lower. And my impression of jazz bands has always been that they tend to be way too top-heavy. They don't have near enough bottom. If you take a tuba and put it on the fourth trombone part an octave lower, it adds that dimension.
Adds some more dynamic range to the band. Oh.
It just makes it.
Maybe more bands should think about that.
Always worked for me. I always like to do it that way.
So the New Horizons Band is a program that's nationwide, and it is generally concert band. And then the Silver Swing Band in Iowa City comes out of that as a jazz band out of the New Horizons Band. Do you have any idea how many jazz bands are also part of New Horizons programs around the country? Do you ever hear from anybody else that's doing something similar?
I know that there are some out there. They would tend to be in larger metropolitan areas, but I don't have a real number on it. Originally, the sections were probably not as full or complete as they are now. There would have been, originally there were some clarinet players who were sitting in the trumpet section covering some of those parts. Now the band is filled with all players on all sections, so 5 saxes and 5 trombones, including the tuba, and 4 trumpets and a full rhythm section. So it's the traditional big band sort of sound and feel.
Wes, as I said, Jerry is a retired band director, but sounds like you maybe put your horn away for some years during your during your career, and maybe picked it up a little bit when you had the opportunity after retirement?
Not really. Actually, I have a music degree and decided when I student taught that I was going to have to listen to fifth graders try to make sounds on clarinets and saxophones for the rest of my life. And that's when I kind of realized that music was an avocation. So everywhere I've been, I played in performing groups of some kind or another. So
you never really stopped?
Never really stopped. Just it is the sheer volume of it that has increased since I retired.
But since you retired, you mentioned you play in several ensembles.
Yes.
You also do some music direction.
Yes, I work. I'm basically the chair of the City Circle Board, but I do music direction for City Circle, and I've done music direction for Iowa City Community Theater also, the Washington Players, and such. So right now I'm in the middle of the final weeks of rehearsal for Camelot at the Coralville Center. So.
And you did some research on the demographics of the Silver Swing Band.
Yeah, I thought when we began to think about the concert, I thought it would be good for people to really know a little bit about the group. And I really discovered a couple of things. There are 6 members of this band that are in their 80s, and there are about 8 members that are in their 70s, and we have 2 young pups that are in their 60s. Half the band is taught or played professionally. They report that they can play as a group 38 different instruments, and they average about 56 years of playing experience per person. So they're primarily coming from Iowa City, Coralville, Washington, Tiffin, pretty much the Iowa City metro area. So,
what kind of repertoire do you play? Do you go exclusively into the classic big band charts, or do you dive into some of the more recent material?
Well, initially, the band played out of a few collection type of book publications, and they centered more on what we would have called dance band tunes and swing style tunes from 40s and 50s, the heyday of the big bands that were on the road. And now that we have the full sections of the trumpets, bones, and saxes and the rhythm players, I think that the literature is of a more diverse and contemporary jazz nature. I think we feel that this growth in size and the scope of the music performed reflects the belief that jazz performance need not stop upon graduation from high school or college. And so we would like to keep swinging for the fences all the way through. But just looking over the set list, we have a tune called Brush Strokes that sort of a cute sort of tune that reflects that Neil Hefti kind of a sound. A number of different Kenton-esque version of Come Rain or Come Shine, Willow Weep for Me. The Willow Weep for Me arrangement is interesting in that Leonard Geisel wrote the chart, and Leonard was in graduate school. I remember him. We were in graduate school around the same time. Leonard was real tight with Stan Kenton. He played on the band from time to time. He wrote some of the tunes. And so it's fun to get something like that. Leonard's son, Nat, is a bass trombone player just like his father. And Nat's not quite old enough to be in this band yet. But we'll get him someday. He's an incredible bass trombone player. So that's an interesting connection that goes back many, many years. There's a fair amount of bassy stuff that we're doing. Count Bubba's Revenge is a Gordon Goodwin tune. So
I was thinking about Gordon Goodwin,
Yeah.
specifically about his great charts and whether that was something that you all had tackled.
It's I think we run a pretty good gamut of different styles and types of big band music. If people are expecting to hear Tommy Dorsey and Glenn Miller, we're probably not their band. We might have been at one time.
Okay.
But anymore, I think it goes out to be a little bit wider net that we're casting.
You've got a concert coming up,
March 10th.
and that will be at the Coralville Center?
Correct.
Okay. And what's a typical, about how many selections do you program for a typical concert?
Well, we tend to play our two sets downtown at the Iowa City Jazz Festival, which is maybe 12 to 15 tunes.
Okay.
And this will be roughly the same sort of thing. I think right now we have about 16 tunes that we're working on for the program. There'll be a 30 to 40 minute performance, a 10, 15 minute intermission, and then we'll come back and go at it again. So I think for the $7 that we have on the ticket, we'll try to give people their money's worth. That's I should mention that since we're talking about that particular show, that the admission is $7 and there's a tax fee of probably 42 cents on that. That's if you phone in to make your purchase of the ticket. If you do it online, I think it runs a little bit more.
They're going to hit you with another
about
little
50
service fee. Yeah.
Yep. Goes over $9.
But based on what I see happening at major halls, music halls of one sort or another, $25 to $30 seems to be the going rate.
Yeah, so 7 sounds pretty good.
I think it's a reasonable price.
Yeah. It's a bargain. A real
nobody
bargain.
nobody gave us the room, so we have to pay
That's
for
right.
the room.
That's right.
However, we have had some wonderful support from some banks in the area, and West Music always supports us on these things. So that plus admission will allow us to pay for the room and maybe make a couple dollars on the side.
I mentioned at the top of the interview that the other thing that you do that I think we would qualify as education, part of an education mission, is you a lot of times go into the University of Iowa for your directors and bring some students out of that. And I know there are several band directors working now in our area who
Right.
kind of cut their teeth as directors when they were in school working with you.
I have a somewhat sketchy history of who we have. There's a pretty good hole here that I can't research enough to get everything for that. But the starting off in 1998, Scott Luberoff, that's Saul's brother.
Who's a band director in Florida.
I think that's right.
Yeah. Now.
State school. I think
Yeah.
it's big time stuff. Scott was there and started things off. Aaron Weir was there a couple of times in 2006 as well as in 2017. Brett Messenger, Scott Morris, Nick Kaufman, Don Kaufman, one of the founders of the New Horizons band. That's his son. He's playing out on the West Coast now, I think. Jim Sherry is out on the West Coast, really fine trumpet player. Tony Lefevre was part of that Iowa version of the Diva.
Yep, she's now the leader of the Iowa Women's Jazz Orchestra.
Right.
And Heine Diaz is our latest one, and he's a delight to work with. He's from Brazil.
That's what
So
I'm
we
saying.
we get we can do bossa nova.
I was going to say, he's been working the rhythm section
can-
really hard on the bossa nova.
We can go after bossa nova. We can do that.
It's the Silver Swing Band in concert at the Coralville Center for the Performing Arts on Thursday, March 10th. $7 admission ticket. And yeah, if you thought all you were going to hear was dance band music from the 30s and the 40s, that is not the case.
Not happening.
You're right.
Well, I thank you so much for being here. It's I always enjoy hearing the band when it's at the Iowa City Jazz Festival. Glad you've got some other concert opportunities too, and come back when you've got another show to talk about.
Thank you
Sounds
very
good.
much.
Thank you.
Great being here.
Jerry and Wes from the Silver Swing Band. Again, you can phone in or go to coralvillearts.org if you'd like to get your tickets in advance for their concert on the 10th of March. You can hear The Culture Crawl live on the radio many weekdays at 10:20, or download the podcast, watch or listen on your own schedule at kcck.org/culture, or however you get your podcasts. I'm Dennis Green, and I'll talk to you later.